I'm Jeff Morrow in Nags Head, North Carolina. Tropical Storm Bonnie continues to lash this area with some pretty strong winds and still some pretty strong rains. We'll have the latest for you in just a moment.
Thanks for joining us here in the Forecast Center at the Weather Channel. I'm Janetta Jones, and we are continuing our extended coverage on what is going on with Tropical Storm Bonnie as it continues to batter the coast of North Carolina. Actually, things are going to start to lessen up for you guys, and we're going to watch it go back over the open waters of the Atlantic, so things could get pretty interesting. Want to show you what's going on as far as the damage that has occurred due to Tropical Storm Bonnie. Certainly has left its mark in places like New Bern, North Carolina. Boats like this one were thrown onto the shore. The Neuse River was already above its banks this morning. Many streets were impassable. Craven County's Assistant Director of Emergency Services estimates about 770 people are in shelters there. About 100 miles northeast of Wilmington, North Carolina, the town of Washington has flooding problems of its own. The Pamlico River rose above its banks, closing several roads. Beaufort County also had reports of a tornado, but no injuries have been reported. Want to show you the latest information on Tropical Storm Bonnie. As of about 5 o'clock local time, we had reports of winds up to 70 miles per hour. It has increased in intensity just a little bit. It's moving towards the northeast at 9 miles per hour. There you have the coordinates in case you're plodding along with us. Estimated pressure 981 millibars. We'll talk more about the tropical storm watches and warnings in just a moment. First of all, though, we have live team coverage. Our own Jeff Morrow is standing by in Nags Head, North Carolina, and Jim Cantori is in Morehead City, North Carolina. We start with you, Jeff. What's going on?
All right, Janetta. Well, it looks like the center of Bonnie has passed by just to the north of this area. We're still getting buffeted by some fairly strong winds at times, not as strong as it was earlier, where we had some pretty consistent wind gusts, well over 60 miles an hour. Now I would say it's more in the steady range of about 25 to 35 miles an hour, particularly out on the beach, and occasional gusts maybe up to 40 or so. Down at Cape Hatteras, things have been a lot windier. They've had consistent wind gusts well over 50 and 60 miles an hour, with even higher gusts out off of Cape Hatteras out at Diamond Shoal. So the lower end of the Outer Banks getting hit fairly hard. Most of the flooding has been occurring off Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds. Elizabeth City up the Pasquotank River, evidently some major flooding there today, and also down in Swan Quarter in Hyde County, some pretty bad flooding. The only road that is closed right now that I'm aware of, at least here in Dare County, is Highway 12, about 3 miles south of the Bonner Bridge. We'll keep you updated here from the Outer Banks. Right now, let's go to Jim Cantori.
Well, hey, Jeff, things are improving rapidly here. It's kind of like we've switched roles. This morning when we came to you, it wasn't too bad. Now it's nasty up there, and it isn't too bad down here as we continue to see things improve. Well, folks, you saw us broadcasting starting yesterday around 10 o'clock, and it would not be for this gentleman here, Mr. John Skyball and his family. And, John, I can't thank you enough, and your family, for putting up with us. We are very, very pleased that you helped us out, and no doubt we couldn't broadcast without your home, blocking the wind and the hurricane-force winds. Tell us what this storm was like, especially when you compare it with Bonnie, or excuse me, Bertha and Fran.
Well, it really wasn't that bad yesterday at all. The worst we thought was about 4 a.m. this morning. I woke up and the wind was really howling. Rain was coming through the windows, underneath the door, until about 8 o'clock or so, and then it kind of died down again. It was just a long time, though, of a lot of rain.
You know, what's it feel like living on the water? I mean, you always in constant fear? Is it just something you just take in stride?
Well, you know, we had one or two just a couple years ago, and we're a little bit better prepared, I think. You know, just one of those things.
Right. Well, it was fun, but you don't want to see us again for Danielle.
No, I was going to say that. It was great having you here, but not anytime real soon under the circumstances like this.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Again, we appreciate it. Folks, that's it here from Morehead City, North Carolina. Power is going to be restored slowly as the weather conditions improve. Back to you, Dan.
All right, thanks so much, Jim Cantori and Jeff Morrow, for those live reports. I'm joined now by our hurricane expert, John Hope. John, you've been tracking Tropical Storm Bonnie for quite some time now, and now we see it going back over the open waters. That's kind of interesting.
It is. We kind of expected it would do that. It took a long time to do it. It was more than 24 hours over North Carolina, the center was. But it is definitely moving out over the water tonight.
All right, and I'd like to show everyone where the tropical storm watches and warnings are in effect, because now they have been extended to include folks in the Northeast.
Yes, the watches have been extended all the way up to Watch Hill, Rhode Island. The warnings have been extended all the way up to Watch Hill, Rhode Island. And we have a watch from Watch Hill, Rhode Island, around to Plymouth, Massachusetts. Tropical storm warnings, not hurricane warnings.
Okay, and what does that entail? What can folks expect?
Well, what we are forecasting there is the possibility or probability of tropical storm force winds, which would be winds in excess of 40 miles an hour. And if it comes close enough, which I think it will, there'll be some rain, but not really prolonged excessive rain such as we saw in North Carolina.
Okay, that's good news. Looking at the radar now, we can see that heavy rainfall is already starting to move away from eastern North Carolina.
Well, a lot of it is moving down here over the outer banks. Still, we have quite a bit here around Cape Hatteras to the south, and another band coming in from the Atlantic Ocean over Norfolk, southeastern Virginia, and down into eastern North Carolina.
Storm surge going to be much of a problem tonight?
Not nearly as much, because after all, this is an exiting storm and it's not a hurricane, so nothing substantial, maybe 4 feet, 5, something like that.
Okay. Do want to make mention of Hurricane Danielle. It's out in the Atlantic. We've got winds at 90 miles per hour. It's moving west-northwest at 17 miles per hour. The official track, John?
Well, the outlook is for this hurricane to continue to move as it has been toward the west-northwest for at least another 24 to 36 hours, and then begin to turn towards the northwest and finally towards the north. And Janetta, what we're hoping for is that this is going to stay offshore. We'll have to wait another day or so before we can be more confident of that. But it does have some chance, I think, to bypass the whole East Coast. We hope that happens.
Yes, we certainly do. Of course, we will monitor the situation and bring you the very latest information. Good idea to tune in periodically throughout the weekend and into next week. Thanks a lot, John, for your expertise. As always, if you have other questions about Bonnie or Danielle and you're away from your television set, you can tap into the Weather Channel's online service at weather.com. Now we go back to the studio, and here's Rich Johnson.
Thank you very much, Janetta. As we look out across the rest of the nation, we do have a storm affecting the Central Plains. Actually, some pretty big thunderstorms this evening into Kansas. Of course, here's Bonnie on the eastern coast of North Carolina. Some of the showers into southeastern Virginia, and with all the clouds and the showers, temperatures are being held down a bit. Otherwise, across the southern United States, it was a rather hot day today, stretching from Little Rock up at 100 presently, 101 for you in Oklahoma City, Dallas 98. So the end of August ending on a very hot note. A little bit cooler out across the Rockies, some 70s and 80s. Satellite photographs showing the thunderstorms building up rapidly from New Mexico out into the plains of Kansas. Meanwhile, farther to the east, we're looking at some showers, some big storms in the Keys. Of course, the cloudiness associated with Bonnie. Otherwise, from Boston, Buffalo, all the way down to Jackson and Birmingham. Overall, real nice day today, a lot of sunshine. Here's the view of New England, showing mostly dry conditions, a few showers in the mid-Atlantic around New Jersey, isolated showers around Baltimore and Washington. Those are very light. Here's the moisture now affecting areas of the mouth of the Chesapeake to the eastern shore of Virginia. Farther to the west over towards Chicagoland, you're seeing some of the rain coming on in, generally light rain. Heavier showers down to around Peoria, all moving almost from west to east, due west to east. Some showers also up to Milwaukee. Down to the Keys, we're looking at some storms from Pigeon Key all the way out to Key West, out toward Dry Tortuga. So some rough weather conditions, essentially the middle Keys and out across the lower Keys as well. For you in Miami, all the way up to West Palm, overall fine. But there are some thunderstorms visiting the areas around Fort Myers and just off to your north. In the western United States, hey, a real nice day today from San Francisco down to LA over to Salt Lake. A beautiful day, good deal of sunshine. Boise, Seattle, Portland, great deal of sun. Although we are seeing the storms build up from plains of Colorado into Kansas. Latest view of the radar showing these storms, and some of these storms across central Kansas, they have produced wind gusts upwards of 60 miles per hour, and there's been some nickel-size hail. So watch out for some of those storms in central Kansas. The forecast, it looks like this. For tomorrow morning, rain showers and gusty conditions, especially toward the coast of southern New England and especially the mid-Atlantic coast as Bonnie slowly makes its way off to the east-northeast. Across the south tomorrow morning, temperatures upper 60s or low 70s, a bit milder from Tulsa, Oklahoma City to Dallas. From Chicago land to St. Louis, chance of a morning thunderstorm. The west starting
Bonnie is now a tropical storm, but there's another danger in the Atlantic. Isn't that right?
Right. Hurricane Danielle. We'll take a look at both of them here. I've put all the stats on one map. Winds of 70 miles an hour now with Tropical Storm Bonnie moving northeast at 8 miles an hour. You know, it only takes 74 miles an hour for Bonnie to become a hurricane again. If the center of the storm moves back out over the open waters, that is a possibility. Most recent coordinates near Manteo, North Carolina. Now, Hurricane Danielle is supporting winds of 90 miles an hour, moving west-northwest a lot more rapidly than Bonnie. In fact, the distance between them seems to be closing. 300 miles north-northeast of the Leeward Islands, and there are the coordinates for Danielle. We're going to take a look at the forecast tracks. First of all, Bonnie, she moves out of North Carolina finally right up along the east coast, and then look who moves into the picture. This is Hurricane Danielle, just about following the track of Bonnie, at least by Sunday evening. That's what it's looking like right now, but it is too soon to tell. If we look at our radar, you can see what's happening with Bonnie. Still rain, not looking as organized as it did. It is interacting with land. That's why it weakened. But there's still a chance for a couple of inches of rain across the region. We've also been looking at some very stormy weather across the Plains states, centered basically in Kansas. Now, there are some tropical storm warnings in effect still along the east coast, New River Inlet, all the way on up to Watch Hill. And our forecast keeps Bonnie right along the coast as a frontal boundary sort of drags northward, not being able to make it through the force of Bonnie. And low pressure center will keep those storms through Kansas, dropping southward. The western part of the country actually looks rather quiet at this point. Jim?
Thank you, Valerie. Every time a hurricane hits, beach homes and piers disappear. So does part of the beach itself. How serious a situation is it? Our environmental correspondent, Natalie Pavelski, takes a look.
With the force of nature comes a fact of life. Even during normal weather, wind and waves are constantly eating away at barrier beaches. As Hurricane Bonnie tears beaches along the Atlantic coast, homes and buildings suffer damage. But the contour of the coastline could change forever. Most, but not all, climate scientists agree with predictions of up to 3 feet of sea level rise during the next century due to global warming. If those predictions are true, the damage from storms like Bonnie could be more frequent and more permanent. This computer animation, prepared by an environmental group, shows what would happen to the coastline near President Clinton's vacation spot on Martha's Vineyard. First, we see how much land would be lost if sea levels meet the projections of a 3-foot rise in the next century. Add that sea level rise to the flooding from a Category 2 storm surge, and Edgartown, Massachusetts, disappears from the map. During its peak strength Wednesday, Bonnie reached even higher, to Category 3.
With global warming, a storm like Bonnie will have a much higher storm surge, will reach farther inland, and cause more devastation and destruction.
As the sea advances, the wave of financial burden grows. Costly and controversial programs to rebuild beaches, move landmarks away from the coastline, and protect private property may need to be stepped up. Or if you're one of the millions who enjoy a trip to the seashore may be coming a little bit closer to you. Natalie Pavelski, CNN.
Or on Weather Center. Look what you can see for only $3.95. Big stars, big hits, one small price. Pay-per-view is affordable entertainment the easy way. Just pick the showing you want to see and follow the simple pay-per-view ordering instructions. Before you know it, you'll be enjoying the movie of your choice right in your home. And each movie is only $3.95, so you can treat family and friends to hit flicks for less than the price of one ticket. Value, convenience, plus great entertainment. There's nothing to it when you pay-per-view it.
For $8, you can join AARP. $8. You get a magazine. You get a newsletter. You get a card. You get 2 cards. Because when you join, your spouse joins free. You get lots of benefits, too. When you travel and close to home. It's only $8. When was the last time you got so much for so little? So go ahead. Why not give AARP a call?
Every night we find a little more out about how the weather works and how it's going to turn out tomorrow. And that's what we bring to the viewers. It's the mystery of weather.
Right now it's your local forecast on the Weather Channel.
for Storm Watch, which is sponsored by Home Depot. This is the time when we check out what's happening in the tropics. We'll have an update on Bonnie, what's happening with Hurricane Danielle in the Atlantic and Howard in the Pacific, and a look at some of the strong thunderstorms that we've been seeing back home. Let's go ahead and show you what's up with Bonnie first. And latest update as of 8 o'clock this evening showing Tropical Storm Bonnie with winds of 70 miles per hour near the Manteo area in North Carolina, moving northeast at about 8, fairly slowly, but it's expected to continue that northeastward movement. And that'll put it out over the open waters of the Atlantic here sometime later tonight or early tomorrow morning. Now, it is a tropical storm. It's a fairly strong tropical storm, so we could see tropical storm conditions any place shaded here in the red. That's where the tropical storm warnings are located. And in the orange here around Plymouth, for instance, in the Cape, down to Watch Hill and parts of the Chesapeake Bay, we might see tropical force winds. So tropical storm watches are in effect there. Here's the latest radar, and you can see lots of rain moving on in parts of Maryland and on into Norfolk and the Virginia roads, Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads area, and some lighter rains back here behind the tropical storm. And you can see it's fairly close to moving out over the open waters. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. Hurricane Danielle, in the meantime, has strengthened today up to 90 miles an hour, and it will continue to strengthen in the next 24 hours, and it will likely move in a west-northwesterly fashion, much as it is right now. In fact, latest satellite showing Danielle with quite a bit of convection right around the center, so we'll continue to monitor that. And Hurricane Howard in the Pacific as it continues to weaken. Coming up next, an update on Tropical Storm Bonnie.
I'm Jeff Morrow reporting in Nags Head, North Carolina on the Outer Banks. More wind and rain in store for the Outer Banks overnight. We'll give you details next on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by the Home Depot.
As a customer, you're so important to us that you should have the best price all the time rather than just sometimes when other stores think it's convenient for you.